The Code of Silence, the janitor who cracked the billion-dollar heist. In a world of high-stakes digital crime, the greatest weapon isn't always a faster algorithm or a bigger budget. Sometimes, it's the quietest person in the room. This is a story of how a simple lunchbox and a worn-out pair of shoes held the key to stopping the most devastating cyber attack in history, and how the tech giants who thought they knew everything missed the most critical data point of all. She was the most brilliant cybersecurity mind of generation, a ghost who had vanished without a trace. The global elite thought she was dead, but she was very much alive, working under their noses, silently watching as they mocked the one person who could save them from a billion-dollar digital apocalypse. The stain on the 50th floor. The 50th floor lobby of Aethelgard Technologies was a cathedral of data and dominance. Its walls weren't just glass. They were smart surfaces, streaming real-time market analytics and global network traffic in rivers of emerald light. The air didn't just hum with ambition. It vibrated with the subaudible thrum of the world's most advanced server farm directly below. This was the nexus of global cybersecurity, a fortress where deals protecting nations were sealed by men in Brioni suits whose wristwatches cost more than a suburban house. And Elara was a smudge on its perfection. She stood motionless, a still point in the world of calculated urgency. At 32, her posture was unervingly straight, a habit from another life. Her chestnut hair was tied back with a simple elastic, and her eyes, a startlingly clear hazel, absorbed everything without seeming to focus on anything. She wore a soft, beige turtleneck, faded jeans, and canvas shoes so worn they whispered against the obsidian floor. In her hands, she clutched a simple stainless steel lunchbox. The whispers began as soon as the service elevator doors had sighed shut behind her. Delivery uses a loading dock. Always. A junior analyst sniffed, not even bothering to lower his voice as he adjusted his platinum Aethelgard badge. A woman in a razor-sharp blazer chuckled to her colleague. I think she's lost. Probably looking for a cleaning closet. Though, she doesn't even have a cart. Elara's grip on the lunchbox tightened infinitesimally. Inside was a chicken stew, a recipe her husband, Kalen, loved. It was their ritual. During high-stress projects, when he was locked in his office on the top floor, she would bring him a taste of home. It was the one thing that could pull him out of the code-induced trance that made him forget to eat for days. But today, the ritual felt different. The air was charged with a panic she could taste, metallic and sharp. The data streams on the walls flickered with erratic crimson pulses she'd never seen before. Aethelgard was under siege. Can I help you? The voice was a blade of condescension, sharpened on a whetstone of privilege. Vanessa Croft, Kalen's chief of staff, strode forward. At 28, she was a masterpiece of curated ambition, her platinum blonde hair a helmet, her dress a body-sculpting Alexander McQueen. Her perfume, a cloying cloud of jasmine and tuberose, was an assault in the sterile air. This is a restricted executive floor. There's no soliciting. Elara met her gaze. I'm here to see Kalen. Vanessa's laugh was a short, brittle sound. Mr. Aethelgard is in a critical situation room. He's not accepting visitors. Her eyes raked over Elara's shoes, her lunchbox, lingering on the faint smear of flour on her jeans. Especially not today. Security. A bulky guard, Harold, approached. His face was a mask of dutiful indifference. Ma'am, you need to come with me. The ghost is in our core. A voice boomed from a cluster of executives near the frosted glass reception desk. We're losing the Hong Kong exchange. The backup protocols are failing. The speaker was Marcus Thorne, head of cyber ops, his face pale beneath his $10,000 suit. The ghost. The name sent a visible shudder through the room. It was a handle of a legendary hacker, a phantom who had eluded every intelligence agency for a decade. Their signature was a complete digital obliteration, not a theft, but an erasure. And now they were inside Aethelgard's impenetrable fortress. Elara's mind, a tool she kept meticulously quieted, began to whir. The patterns on the walls. The specific failure of the Hong Kong protocols. It was familiar. Vanessa saw her looking. Something amusing? This is a billion-dollar crisis. Something you clearly can't comprehend. She turned to a growing audience of anxious staff. She probably thinks a firewall is something you hang a painting on. The laughter was nervous, a release of tension directed at a safe target. Elara didn't flinch. She looked past Vanessa, directly at Marcus Thorne. The Hong Kong failure is a misdirection, she said, her voice soft but clear, cutting through the chatter. The primary attack vector is through the legacy HVAC control system. It was never fully integrated after the OmniCorp merger. It's creating a thermal side channel to read the encryption keys from the physical servers. The laughter died. The lobby fell into a stunned silence. Marcus Thorne stared at her, his mouth slightly agape. What did you say? Vanessa recovered first, her fury igniting. How dare you? Are you a spy? Harold, detain her. Now! Harold grabbed Elara's arm. The lunchbox clattered the floor, the lid popping open. The rich, homely scent of chicken stew bloomed in the air, a stark, pathetic contrast of the jasmine and fear. It was then that the private elevator, the one that led directly to the CEO's sanctum, dinged softly. Every head turned. Kalen Aethelgard stepped out. At 35, he looked like he'd been carved from the very stress of the crisis. His gray eyes were shadowed, his jaw tight. But when his gaze found Elara held by the guard, with her lunch spilled on the $100,000 floor, the storm in his eyes crystallized into something absolute and terrifying. The ghost in the machine and the ghost in the room. Kalen didn't shout. His voice was a low-frequency tremor that vibrated in the bones of everyone present. Release my wife. The words landed not as a request, but as a system-wide command. Harold's hand sprang open as it burned. Kalen crossed the space in a few strides. He ignored the spilled food, the stunned executives, the petrified Vanessa. He knelt, his bespoke suit trousers scraping the floor, and gently took the lunchbox from Elara's trembling hands. Elara, he said, his voice softening only for her. Are you all right? Before she could answer, Marcus Thorne found his voice, desperation overriding protocol. Kalen, sir, the ghost, the Hong Kong exchange, she said it was a misdirection. Through the HVAC. Kalen's head snapped up. He looked from Marcus to Elara, a dawning, horrific understanding in his eyes. He saw the spilled stew, the humiliation on his wife's face, and a critical clue she had just offered them. He stood, pulling Elara to his side. Explain, he commanded the room, but his eyes were on Vanessa. Vanessa stammered. She was causing a disturbance. Kalen, I didn't know. You didn't know? Kalen's voice was dangerously quiet. The woman whose security clearance is higher than yours? The woman who designed the fractal encryption model that you presented as your own thesis at Stanford. The gasp that rippled through the lobby was audible. Vanessa's face went from crimson to a sickly white. Kalen turned the crowd, his arm protective barrier around Elara. 5 years ago, the Aethelgard Core was breached by a group called Chimera. They were stopped by a lone hacker operating under the handle of Sybil. Sybil didn't just stop them. She reverse engineered their attack and embedded a silent kill switch in their network, a piece of code so elegant we still study it. The board awarded a $20 million bounty. He paused, letting the memories settle among the older staff. Sybil vanished. She took the bounty, but refused all offers of employment. She wanted a quiet life. His gaze swept over Elara's simple clothes. She wanted to bake bread and plant a garden. I spent 2 years tracking her down, not to hire her, but to thank her, and I fell in love with her. He looked directly at Vanessa. The only reason you have a job, Vanessa, is because Elara found the corporate politics tedious and recommended I hire a competent chief of staff. She thought you had potential. The humiliation was complete. Vanessa looked like she'd been physically struck. But the crisis wasn't over. A junior tech ran up, his face ashen. Sir, the ghosts, they bypassed the last firewall. They're in the mainframe. They're initiating a full data purge. We have 90 seconds. Panic erupted. This was it. The end of Aethelgard. Elara gently extricated herself from Kalen's arm. She walked over to the spilled lunchbox. Nestled beside the container of stew was a small, unassuming metal thumb drive, shaped like a key. She picked it up. The ghost isn't a person, she said, her voice now carrying the cool, analytical tone of a master programmer. It's an AI. a recursive learning algorithm I designed 7 years ago to test system vulnerabilities. I called it Argus. Its activation signature is tied to a specific, unauthorized attempt to access the core financial ledgers. She looked at Marcus Thorne. The HVAC tip was a test. You're the only one who could have initiated that specific vector. You're trying to cover a massive financial theft by making it look like the ghost erased everything. Marcus's face contorted in rage and fear. That's insane. She's a liar. Elara ignored him. She walked to the reception desk, where a terrified intern sat frozen. She plugged a thumb drive into a terminal. The screen, which had been flashing catastrophic failure warnings, went black. Then, a single line of text appeared, in the same emerald green as the data walls. Sybil, authenticate. Elara's fingers flew across the keyboard. It wasn't a typed password. It was a rhythmic sequence of keys, a cadence, a code of silence. Authentication confirmed. Welcome home. Command, Elara, terminate Argus simulation. Isolate and roll back all changes initiated by user. Marcus_Thorne. Preserve evidence. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then, the crimson pulses on the walls vanished. The emerald streams returned to their normal, steady flow. A cheerful chime echoed through the lobby sound system. A message flashed on every screen. Purge canceled. System stabilized. All data intact. The silence that followed was heavier than the panic. Marcus Thorne made a break for the elevator, but Harold, now eager to redeem himself, tackled him to the ground. The unseen code. The fallout was swift and merciless, delivered not with shouts, but with the quiet authority of code and law. Marcus Thorne was arrested by federal agents who seemed to materialize from the walls. His scheme, to fake a ghost attack to hide his embezzlement of hundreds of millions, unraveled in minutes. The digital evidence compiled by Elara's key irrefutable. Vanessa Croft was escorted from the building by HR. Her career in Silicon Valley was over, her reputation ashes. Kalen's final words to her were, "You were given a position of trust. You used it to guard a door you had no right to even approach." The staff who had laughed and sneered found their key cards deactivated. Their employment at the world's most prestigious tech firm terminated by noon. Kalen led Elara into his private elevator. As the gold-plated doors closed, he didn't look at the bowed heads of his remaining executives. He looked only at his wife. "I saw the security feed from the lobby the moment you stepped off the service elevator," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I saw everything. I was about to come down when I heard you diagnose the attack. I knew then you had it under control. You always do." In the sanctum of his office, with the city sprawled beneath them, he held her. "Why didn't you ever tell them? Why let them think you were just my wife?" Elara smiled, a genuine, warm smile that transformed her face. "Because I am your wife. That's the most important title I have. Sybil was a ghost. What we have is real. The code I wrote today to save the company, I wrote its first iteration on a laptop in our kitchen while you were making me tea. My power was never in a badge or a title. It was in the silence they mistook for emptiness. The lesson echoed in the quiet room, a truth more secure than any firewall. Arrogance is the ultimate vulnerability. True strength often resides in the most unassuming package, and those who are quick to judge based on appearances are often blind to the most critical data point of all: kindness, integrity, and silent, formidable intelligence. Asterisk, asterisk. The real guardians of our digital world aren't always the ones in the expensive suits on the 50th floor. Sometimes, they're the ones who understand that every system, no matter how complex, can be broken and protected by someone who knows its deepest, most hidden code. This story maintains the core elements you provided while integrating the digital detective theme. It uses technology as both the crime and the solution, with a strong, suspenseful narrative and a powerful lesson about prejudice and hidden strength. Stay vigilant. This is the Digital Detective. Digital Detective presents stories that educate, inspire critical thinking, and highlight the power of technology in uncovering truth. Always verify facts and report wrongdoing through official channels. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thank you.